Sir, you need to eat something. My sister makes the best ramen in the Bronx.
My son is dead. They said he's never coming home. So what's the point of eating? What's the point of anything?
The point is that somebody still cares if you make it through today. And today, that somebody is us.
Jennifer's hands wouldn't stop shaking. The old man in the wheelchair looked like he'd given up. Not just on the meal, on everything. His expensive suit hung off his frame like a ghost was wearing it. His eyes, those eyes that probably used to light up boardrooms, were empty, completely hollow. They were in the Mount Sinai hospital parking lot on a cold November evening in New York. Jennifer had just finished a 12-hour shift. Her feet screamed in her worn-out sneakers. Her scrubs still had coffee stains from this morning, and she was about to give away the only meal she'd have until tomorrow. "Sir," Jennifer said softly, kneeling down so she was eye level with him. "You need to eat something." Little brother Devin stood beside her, his backpack almost bigger than his 12-year-old frame. He held his lunchbox like it was treasure. "My sister makes the best ramen in the Bronx," Devin said, his gap-toothed smile bright despite the fact they'd had cereal for dinner 3 nights straight. "Our mama taught her, it's like a hug in a bowl." The old man's hands trembled. One single tear rolled down his weathered brown cheek. "My son is dead," he whispered, his voice cracking like broken glass. "They said he's never coming home, so what's the point of eating? What's the point of anything?" Jennifer felt that pain punch straight through her chest. She knew that emptiness, that specific kind of dark that swallows you whole. She'd been living in it for 14 months, ever since Mama died and left her alone to raise Devin on a nurse's salary that barely covered rent. But she also knew something else, something Mama had taught her. "The point," Jennifer said, her voice steady even though her own heart was held together with tape and prayers, "is that somebody still cares if you make it through today. And today, that somebody is us." She opened the styrofoam container. Steam rose up, carrying the smell of ginger, garlic, and green onions. She lifted the chopsticks to his mouth. The old man looked at her, really looked at her for the first time. His eyes weren't empty anymore. They were confused, surprised, like he'd forgotten people could be kind for no reason. Slowly, he opened his mouth. Jennifer fed him that first bite. Neither of them knew it then, but that one moment, that one bite of homemade ramen in a hospital parking lot, would change absolutely everything, not just their bank accounts, their entire lives. Let's get into it. 14 hours earlier, Jennifer's alarm went off at 4:30 in the morning. She slapped it silent before it could wake Devin in the next room. The apartment was freezing. The landlord still hadn't fixed the heat, and it was November in the Bronx. She could see her breath. She pulled on her scrubs in the dark, the same pair she'd washed in the sink last night because the laundromat cost $7 she didn't have. They were still slightly damp and smelled like the cheap detergent from the dollar store. In the tiny kitchen, Jennifer made herself instant coffee. Not the good kind. The kind that came in a jar and tasted like burnt regret. But it was caffeine, and that's all that mattered. She opened the fridge. 1 egg. Half a carton of milk that expired yesterday. A mostly empty bottle of soy sauce. Some leftover rice in a container. Jennifer closed the fridge and grabbed her coat. Devin needed breakfast more than she did. The subway platform was already crowded at 5:15. Jennifer squeezed into the 6 train heading downtown. A man's elbow dug into her ribs. Someone's backpack kept hitting her head. She held onto the pole and closed her eyes. Just get through today, she told herself. That's all, just today. It was the same thing she'd been telling herself every single morning since Mama died. Mount Sinai Hospital's emergency room was chaos from the second Jennifer clocked in. "Brooks, I need you in trauma too," Dr. Patricia Akafor called out, not even looking up from her chart. Dr. Akafor was a Nigerian woman in her 50s who ran the ER like a military operation. Tough as nails, but fair. Jennifer respected the hell out of her. "On it," Jennifer said, dropping her bag in her locker and heading straight to the trauma bay. The shift was relentless. A car accident victim, a teenager with a knife wound, an elderly woman who'd fallen down her stairs, a baby with a fever of 104. Jennifer's feet hurt, her back ached. She hadn't sat down in 6 hours. Around noon, she ducked into the break room and scarfed down a granola bar she'd found in her coat pocket from 3 weeks ago. It was stale. She ate it anyway. Her phone buzzed. Devin. Hey Jen, the school called. They said my account is negative for lunch. Can you add money? Jennifer stared at the text. The school lunch account. She'd forgotten. Again, she checked her bank account on her phone. Balance. 47.23. Rent was due in 5 days. That was $1,200. She was short. Very short. She texted back. Jennifer, I'll handle it, baby. Did you eat today, Devin? Yeah, Mrs. Washington gave me a sandwich, Mrs. Washington. Their 74-year-old neighbor who was on a fixed income and still found ways to feed Devin when Jennifer couldn't. Jennifer felt shame burn in her chest. She shoved her phone in her pocket and went back to work. Around 3 in the afternoon, Dr. Acaffer found her restocking supplies in the med room. Brooks, I need you to check on the patient in 6C, Dr. Acaffer said. Mr. Chen, 66-year-old male, admitted 2 days ago for chest pains and malnutrition. Cardiac workup came back stable, but he's refusing to eat, refusing to engage, just stares at the wall. Jennifer frowned. Psychiatric consult. Already done. He's grieving, lost his son recently. They cleared him medically but recommended close monitoring. Dr. Acaffer looked at Jennifer over her glasses. You're good with the hard cases, Brooks. See if you can get him to eat something. Anything. Try, Jennifer said. She walked down the hallway to room 6C and knocked softly before entering. The man sitting in the bed looked like he'd aged 100 years. He was tall, or he would be if he stood up. His skin was a deep brown, his hair mostly gray. He wore an expensive-looking watch and a wedding ring, but his eyes were somewhere far away. Mr. Chen, Jennifer said gently. I'm Jennifer, one of the nurses. How are you feeling today? He didn't respond, didn't even look at her. Jennifer checked his vitals. Blood pressure was okay, heart rate stable, but he'd lost weight, a lot of weight. Mr. Chen, the doctor says you haven't been eating, Jennifer said, keeping her voice soft. I know you're going through a hard time, but your body needs fuel. Can I bring you something? Soup, crackers, still nothing. Jennifer tried a few more times, but it was like talking to a statue. Finally, she left the room and made a note in his chart. Patient non-responsive. Continues to refuse food. We'll monitor, but something about him stuck with her, that look in his eyes. She'd seen it before in the mirror. Every morning after Mama died, the rest of the shift dragged on. By the time 7 p.m. rolled around, Jennifer was dead on her feet. She clocked out, grabbed her coat, and checked her phone. Devin, I'm at the library doing homework. Mrs. Washington said I can stay till you get home, Jennifer. Okay, baby, I'll be there soon. Love you, Devin. Love you too. Jennifer walked outside into the cold November evening. She was about to head to the subway when she saw him, Mr. Chen. He was sitting in a wheelchair near the hospital entrance. Not in a patient gown anymore, he was dressed in a full suit, but he looked even worse than he had upstairs. A nurse Jennifer didn't recognize was standing next to him, looking frustrated. Sir, you can't just discharge yourself, the nurse was saying. You need to sign the AMA forms and... I don't need to be here, Mr. Chen said quietly. His voice was rough, like he hadn't used it in days. There's nothing you can do for me, nurse sighed. Fine, I'll get the paperwork. She walked back inside, leaving Mr. Chen sitting there alone. Jennifer should have kept walking. She had to pick up Devin. She had to figure out how to pay rent. She had to get home and make dinner out of nothing, but she couldn't. She walked over to him. Mr. Chen, Jennifer said. Are you okay? He looked up at her slowly. Recognition flickered in his eyes. You're the nurse from earlier. Yeah, Jennifer said. Jennifer. I'm fine, he said, but his voice cracked on the word. He wasn't fine. Anyone could see that. Jennifer hesitated. Then she sat down on the bench next to his wheelchair. I lost my mom last year, Jennifer said quietly. Breast cancer. She fought for 2 years, but she trailed off. The first few months after she died, I didn't eat either, didn't see the point. I had to take care of my little brother, but even that felt like I was just going through the motions. Mr. Chen's jaw tightened. His hands gripped the armrests of the wheelchair. My son, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Elijah, he was in the military. They said he went missing during a mission overseas. 5 months, no word. Then 3 weeks ago, they sent me a letter, missing, presumed dead. His voice broke completely. He was my only child, my whole world. Jennifer's heart cracked wide open. I'm so sorry, she said. They sat there in silence for a moment. Then Jennifer heard footsteps behind her. Jennifer, she turned. Devin was running toward her, his backpack bouncing on his shoulders. Mrs. Washington must have dropped him off. Hey baby, I told you to wait at the library, Jennifer said, standing up. I finished my homework and Mrs. Washington said she'd walk me here, Devin said, slightly out of breath. Then he noticed Mr. Chen. His eyes went wide with that specific kind of empathy only kids seem to have. "Are you okay, sir, Mr. Chen?" looked at Devin like he was seeing a ghost. Mr. Chen started but couldn't finish. Devin looked at Jennifer, then back at Mr. Chen. Then he did something Jennifer would never forget. He opened his lunchbox and pulled out the styrofoam container Jennifer had packed that morning. "You look really sad," Devin said simply. "My sister always says food helps when you're sad. Not like it fixes it, but it helps you not feel so alone. Do you want some? It's ramen. My mama taught my sister how to make it before she died, Mr. Chen stared at the container like it was a lifeline. Jennifer knelt down next to the wheelchair. "He's right," she said softly. "It doesn't fix anything, but it helps." She took the container from Devin and opened it. Steam rose up, carrying the scent of the broth she'd made at 5 that morning. Ginger, garlic, soy sauce, green onions. The noodles she'd cooked perfectly. The soft-boiled egg she'd added. It was supposed to be Devin's dinner. But looking at this man, this broken, grieving father, Jennifer knew exactly what Mama would have done. She picked up the chopsticks. She asked. Mr. Chen looked at her, really looked at her, and then slowly he nodded. Jennifer lifted a small bite of noodles to his mouth. He opened, she fed him, he chewed slowly, swallowed, and then his face just crumpled. Tears streamed down his cheeks. Not quiet tears, deep, body-shaking sobs. "My wife," he choked out between sobs. "My wife used to make something like this before she passed. I haven't tasted anything like this in 12 years. Jennifer's own eyes filled with tears. Devin stepped closer and gently put his hand on Mr. Chen's arm. "It's okay to cry," Devin said. "Jennifer cries too. She thinks I don't hear her, but I do. It's okay." Mr. Chen reached up with a shaking hand and held Devin's small hand. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you." Jennifer fed him another bite, and another. He ate half the container before he couldn't eat any more. "That was the first thing I've tasted in 3 weeks, Mr. Chen said, wiping his eyes with the back of his hand. "The first time I've felt anything." "I'm glad," Jennifer said softly. The nurse came back out with the discharge paperwork. Mr. Chen signed it, his hand still shaking. A black car pulled up, expensive, sleek. A driver got out and helped Mr. Chen into the back seat. Before he got in, Mr. Chen turned back to Jennifer. "What's your name?" he asked. "Your full name." "Jennifer Brooks," she said. "Jennifer Brooks," he repeated like he was memorizing it. "Thank you, you and your brother. You reminded me that there's still kindness in this world." "You're welcome, Mr. Chen," Jennifer said. The car door closed. The vehicle pulled away into the New York City traffic. Jennifer watched it disappear. "That was really nice of you, Jen," Devin said. "Yeah, well, Mama always said you share what you have, even when you don't have much," Jennifer replied, ruffling his hair. "What are we gonna eat for dinner?" Devin asked. Jennifer looked in her bag. She had exactly 1 granola bar left. "We'll figure it out," she said. They always did. 3 weeks later, Jennifer had mostly forgotten about Mr. Chen. Life didn't stop just because you did one kind thing. Bills still came. Rent was still due. Devin still needed food and clothes and school supplies. Jennifer picked up extra shifts. She worked a double on Thanksgiving. She donated plasma for $40. She sold some of Mama's old jewelry at a pawn shop and cried the whole subway ride home. By mid-December, she was running on fumes. It was a Tuesday evening. Jennifer had just gotten home from another 12-hour shift. She climbed the 4 flights of stairs to their apartment. The elevator was still broken and unlocked the door. Devin was doing homework at the kitchen table. "Hey, baby," Jennifer said, dropping her bag. "How was school?" "Good. We got our math tests back. I got a 98, Devin said proudly. "That's my genius," Jennifer said, kissing the top of his head. "I'm gonna make us some rice and eggs, okay?" "Okay." Jennifer was halfway through cracking the eggs when someone knocked on the door. She frowned. They never got visitors. "Stay here," she told Devin. She looked through the peephole. A man in a suit stood in the hallway. Professional, clean-cut. Jennifer opened the door a crack, keeping the chain lock on. "Can I help you?" she asked. "Are you Jennifer Brooks?" the man asked. "Who's asking?" "My name is Minjun Park. I work for Chen Premier Automotive Group," the man said. He pulled out a business card and held it up. "Mr. Richard Chen would like to speak with you. He's downstairs." Jennifer's heart stopped. "Mr. Chen?" What?" Jennifer said. "He's been looking for you for 3 weeks," Minjun said. "He'd very much like to thank you properly for what you did. If you have a few minutes, he's waiting in the car outside." Jennifer looked back at Devin, who was watching with wide eyes. Okay," Jennifer said. "Give me 1 second." She closed the door. "Dev, stay here. Lock the door. I'll be right back," Jennifer said. "Is everything okay?" Devin asked, worried. "Yeah, baby, I think so. I'll be right back." Jennifer grabbed her coat and headed downstairs. When she stepped outside into the cold December evening, she saw it. A black Mercedes parked in front of her building. The kind of car that didn't belong in this neighborhood. The back window rolled down, and there he was, Mr. Richard Chen, but he looked different, healthier. His face had color. His eyes were clear. He smiled when he saw her. "Jennifer Brooks," he said warmly. "I've been looking everywhere for you." Jennifer walked over slowly, her breath fogging in the cold air. "Mr. Chen," she said. How did you find me?" "It took some effort," he admitted. "But I had to. You saved my life that night, Jennifer. You and your brother." "Just gave you some noodles," Jennifer said, confused. "No," Mr. Chen said firmly. "You gave me a reason to keep living." He opened the car door. "Please, get in, just for a few minutes. I promise I won't take much of your time." Jennifer hesitated, then she got in the car. The interior smelled like leather and expensive cologne. The seats were heated. Jennifer hadn't been warm in weeks. Mr. Chen looked at her with those kind eyes. "Jennifer, I want to tell you something," he said. "That night in the hospital parking lot, I had made a decision. I was going to go home and end my life. I saw no point in continuing. My son was gone. My wife has been gone for years. I was alone." Jennifer's throat tightened. "But then your brother came up to me with that lunchbox," Mr. Chen continued, his voice thick with emotion. "And you fed me. You looked at me like I mattered, like I was a person, not just some sad old man in a wheelchair. You shared your food when I know you barely had any." "How did you?" "I did some research," Mr. Chen said gently. "I know you're raising your brother alone. I know you work doubles to make ends meet. I know you're struggling, Jennifer, and still you gave." Jennifer felt tears burning behind her eyes. "That's just what you do," she whispered. "That's what my mama taught me." "Your mother raised an extraordinary woman," Mr. Chen said, "and I want to help you if you'll let me." "Mr. Chen, I appreciate it, but I don't need." "I know you don't need charity," Mr. Chen interrupted. "I'm not offering charity. I'm offering gratitude. You gave me my life back, Jennifer. Let me help make yours a little easier." Jennifer shook her head. "I can't accept money from you." "Then don't think of it as money," Mr. Chen said. "Think of it as an investment in kindness in the future, in your brother's education." He handed her an envelope. Jennifer stared at it. "Please," Mr. Chen said, "open it." With shaking hands, Jennifer opened the envelope. Inside was a check. She looked at the number and her heart stopped. $50,000. "Mr. Chen, I can't. This is..." "It's a thank you," Mr. Chen said. "Reminding me that life is still worth living. For feeding me when I'd given up. For showing me kindness when I was invisible to everyone else." Jennifer couldn't breathe. $50,000, that was rent for years. That was Devon's education. That was everything. "I don't know what to say," Jennifer whispered. "You'll accept it," Mr. Chen said. "Say you'll let an old man sleep better at night knowing the woman who saved him isn't struggling." Jennifer looked at the check, then at Mr. Chen. "Why?" she asked. "Why me?" Mr. Chen smiled. "Because you saw me, Jennifer. When I was nothing but a broken man in a wheelchair, you saw me. You treated me with dignity, with compassion. That's rare, that's precious." He reached into his pocket and pulled out another card. "This is my personal number," he said. "I don't give this to many people, but I want you to have it. If you ever need anything, anything at all, you call me. Understand?" Jennifer took the card with trembling fingers. "I don't understand any of this," she said honestly. "You don't have to understand it," Mr. Chen said gently. "Just accept it, please." Jennifer looked at the check again. She thought about Devon, about the overdue rent notice, about the holes in her shoes, about eating granola bars for dinner. She thought about Mama. What would Mama say? "Baby, when someone wants to bless you, let them. Kindness is supposed to go in circles." Jennifer folded the check carefully. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you so much." "No, Jennifer," Mr. Chen said, his eyes wet. "Thank you." Jennifer got out of the car in a daze. She walked back up the 4 flights of stairs. She unlocked the door. Devon looked up from his homework. "Everything okay?" he asked. Jennifer looked at her little brother, at this brilliant, kind, beautiful kid who deserved so much more than she'd been able to give him. And she started crying, not sad tears, happy ones. "Everything's gonna be okay, Dev," she said, pulling him into a hug. "Everything's gonna be okay." That night, after Devon went to bed, Jennifer sat at the kitchen table and stared at the check. $50,000. From a stranger she'd fed ramen to in a parking lot. She didn't know something yet, but this was just the beginning. If you want to know what happens next, stick with me, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on any of our heartfelt stories. Drop a comment and tell me, would you have given away your last meal to a stranger? Let's talk about it. And if this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to remember that kindness always comes back around. Let's ride on with the story. The black car sat idling outside Jennifer's apartment building in the Bronx. But this time, it wasn't December. It was March. 3 months had passed since Richard Chen gave Jennifer that check. 3 months that had changed everything. Jennifer had paid off all her debt, every single bill, the overdue rent, the medical bills from Mama's final hospital stays that had been haunting her, the nursing school loans that had been crushing her for 5 years. For the first time since Mama died, Jennifer could breathe. She'd even been able to buy Devin new clothes that actually fit, new shoes, a winter coat that wasn't from the thrift store. She'd restocked their fridge with real food, fresh vegetables, chicken, fish, things they hadn't been able to afford in over a year. But she hadn't touched most of the money. $38,000 still sat in a savings account she'd opened. She was terrified to spend it, terrified it would disappear, terrified she'd wake up and find out it was all a dream. Jennifer had called Mr. Chen once to thank him again. They talked for 20 minutes. He'd asked about Devin, about her work, about her life. He told her about his business, about his late wife Sun-hee, about the grief that still sat heavy in his chest. But he never mentioned his son. Jennifer never asked. Some pain was too deep to touch. Now, standing at her apartment window on this chilly March evening, Jennifer watched that same Mercedes pull up to her building. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. "Hello, Jennifer, it's Richard Chen." His warm voice came through the line. "I'm downstairs. Do you have a moment? I'd like to talk to you about something important." Jennifer's heart jumped. "Is everything okay?" "Yes," Richard said, and she could hear the smile in his voice. "Everything is. Actually, everything is better than okay. Can you come down and bring Devin if he's home?" "He's here doing homework," Jennifer said. "Give us 5 minutes. Take your time." Jennifer hung up and turned to Devin, who was sprawled on the couch with his math textbook. "Dev, Mr. Chen is downstairs. He wants to talk to us," Jennifer said. Devin's eyes lit up. "Really? Can we go?" "Yeah, grab your jacket." 5 minutes later, they were sliding into the warm backseat of the Mercedes. Richard Chen looked different than the last time Jennifer had seen him. Healthier, yes, but more than that, he looked happy. Actually happy. His eyes were bright. He was smiling so wide it looked like his face might crack. "Mr. Chen, you look amazing," Jennifer said honestly. "Feel amazing," Richard said. "And I have news I've been waiting 3 months to share." Jennifer's stomach flipped. "What kind of news?" Richard's eyes filled with tears, but they were happy tears. "My son," he said, his voice breaking. "Elijah, he's alive." World stopped. Jennifer breathed. "He's alive," Richard repeated, wiping his eyes. "They found him 2 weeks after I met you." He'd been in a remote medical facility overseas, recovering from his injuries. Communication systems were down. He couldn't contact anyone. The military thought he was dead, but he was fighting his way back. "My God," Jennifer whispered, her own eyes flooding with tears. Devin grabbed her hand, squeezing tight. "He arrived stateside 6 weeks ago," Richard continued. "He's been in a VA hospital in Maryland, doing physical therapy, getting treatment for his injuries. But today he's coming home. To New York, and I wanted you to be there when I pick him up from the airport." "Chen, that's your private family moment. We couldn't," Jennifer started. "The reason I'm alive to see this moment," Richard interrupted, his voice firm but kind. "You gave me hope when I had none. You reminded me that life was worth living. If it wasn't for you and Devin, I wouldn't be here to bring my son home. Please, come with me." Jennifer looked at Devin. Devin nodded eagerly. "Okay," Jennifer said softly. "We'd be honored." Richard's smile could have lit up the entire city. "Thank you," he said. "Minjun is driving. We'll head to JFK now. Elijah's flight lands in 40 minutes. The drive to JFK Airport felt surreal. Jennifer had never been in a car this nice. Heated seats, smooth ride, no potholes jarring her spine. Minjun Park, who she'd met briefly before, drove with quiet efficiency while Richard told them stories about Elijah. "He was stubborn even as a boy," Richard said, his voice full of love. "Wanted to join the military since he was 16. I tried to talk him out of it. I wanted him to take over the business, go to business school, follow in my footsteps. But Elijah had his own path." "That must have been hard," Jennifer said. "It was," Richard admitted. "We fought about it. He enlisted at 18, right after high school. I was angry. We didn't speak for 6 months. By the time I came to my senses and reached out, he was already deployed overseas." He paused, looking out the window at the New York skyline. "His mother, my wife Sun-hee, she was the bridge between us. She made us talk, made us understand each other. After she died 12 years ago, Elijah and I grew even more distant. He stayed in the military. I buried myself in work. We'd talk maybe 3 times a year. Birthdays, holidays. Richard's voice cracked. When I got that letter saying he was missing, presumed dead, all I could think about was all the time I'd wasted, all the conversations we never had. I would have given anything, everything, for one more chance to tell him I was proud of him. Jennifer reached over and squeezed Richard's hand. Getting that chance now, she said softly. Richard squeezed back. Because of you. JFK International Airport was massive and overwhelming. Jennifer had never been to an airport before, never been on a plane. Never had a reason to. She held Devin's hand as they walked through the terminal. Min Jun had parked in a special area and escorted them inside. Richard led them to the arrivals area for domestic flights. His flight just landed, Richard said, checking his phone. His hands were shaking. He'll be coming through those doors any minute. They waited. Jennifer watched families reunite, couples embrace. Children run to grandparents, and then the doors opened. A tall man walked through. He was about 6'3" with broad shoulders and a military bearing. His skin was a deep brown, his hair cut close in a fade. He wore jeans and a simple black jacket. He walked with a slight limp, favoring his right leg. But it was his eyes that caught Jennifer, dark, intense eyes that had seen too much. Those eyes scanned the crowd, and then they found Richard. Everything else disappeared. Dad, the man said, his voice rough with emotion. Elijah, Richard choked out. They met in the middle. The hug was desperate, tight. Both men were crying deep, body-shaking sobs. I thought I'd lost you, Richard said into his son's shoulder. I thought you were gone. Here, Dad, Elijah said, his voice breaking. I'm here. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Don't apologize. Don't you dare apologize. You're home. That's all that matters. Jennifer felt tears streaming down her own face. Devin was crying too. They stood there for what felt like forever, father and son holding each other like they'd never let go. Finally, they pulled apart. Elijah wiped his eyes. Richard kept one hand on his son's shoulder like he needed to physically confirm he was real. There's someone I want you to meet, Richard said, turning toward Jennifer and Devin. Elijah followed his father's gaze. When his eyes met Jennifer's, something shifted in the air. She felt it in her chest, a pull, a recognition she couldn't explain. Elijah, this is Jennifer Brooks and her brother Devin, Richard said. They saved my life. Elijah's eyebrows rose. What? 3 months ago I was ready to give up, Richard said quietly. I'd stopped eating, stopped caring. I was going to end it. But Jennifer and Devin found me in a hospital parking lot and they shared their dinner with me. Jennifer fed me homemade ramen, and Devin reminded me that people still care about strangers. They gave me a reason to keep living. Without them, I wouldn't be standing here right now. Elijah's expression shifted. The hardness in his eyes softened. He walked over to Jennifer and extended his hand. Thank you, he said, his voice thick. Thank you for taking care of my father when I couldn't. Jennifer shook his hand. His grip was firm, warm, strong. I'm just glad he's okay, Jennifer said softly. And I'm so glad you're home. Elijah looked down at Devin. And you're the one with the magic ramen, huh? Devin grinned. My sister made it. I just shared. Well, that was pretty brave, Elijah said, kneeling down to Devin's level despite the obvious pain in his leg. Sharing your food with a stranger, that takes a special kind of heart. My mama always said kindness doesn't cost anything, Devin said. And Jennifer says the same thing. Elijah smiled, a real, genuine smile that transformed his entire face. Your mama and your sister are right, he said. He stood back up, wincing slightly. Richard noticed. Come on, son, let's get you home. You need to rest. Drive back to Manhattan was quieter but warmer. Elijah sat in the front passenger seat. Jennifer, Devin, and Richard sat in the back. Where are you living now, Jennifer? Richard asked. Still in the Bronx, Jennifer said. Same apartment. You're still working at Mount Sinai? Yes, sir, still in the Richard nodded thoughtfully. How's Devin's school? Good, Devin piped up. I'm on the honor roll again. That's my boy, Richard said warmly. Then he paused. Jennifer, I've been thinking I'd like to offer you something. Mr. Chen, you've already given us so much. Hear me out, Richard said gently. I'd like to set up an education fund for Devin. A full scholarship, private school, college, everything. He's a brilliant kid. He deserves the best opportunities. Jennifer's breath caught. Mr. Chen, and I'd like to offer you a position, Richard continued. Not as a nurse. Well, not unless you want to keep doing that, but I'd like you to help me with something I've been planning. A community outreach program through my company. Free meals for families in need. Job training, resources. I want to give back, Jennifer. And I can't think of anyone better to help me build it than the woman who showed me what true generosity looks like. Jennifer stared at him, speechless. You don't have to answer now, Richard said. Think about it, but I'm serious. I want you to be part of this. From the front seat, Elijah turned to look at her. Their eyes met in the rearview mirror. Jennifer's heart did a strange little flip. Richard insisted on taking them to dinner. They ended up at a small Korean-American restaurant in Koreatown. Not fancy, but warm and family-owned. The owner recognized Richard immediately and greeted him like family. They sat in a corner booth, Richard, Elijah, Jennifer, and Devin. Son, he used to bring me here when we were dadding, Richard said, looking around with nostalgic eyes. This was her favorite place in the whole city. I remember, Elijah said quietly. She'd order the bibimbap and let me pick off all the vegetables. They laughed. It was a soft, healing kind of laughter. The food came, steaming bowls of soup, platters of banchan, sizzling meats. Devin's eyes went wide. This is so much food. As much as you want, Richard said, and take leftovers home. They ate, talked, and laughed. Jennifer watched Elijah carefully. He was quiet, observant. He let his father do most of the talking, but every now and then he'd add a comment or a memory. She noticed how his hands shook slightly when he reached for his water. How he flinched when someone dropped a plate in the kitchen. How he sat facing the door like he needed to see all exits. PTSD, Jennifer realized. He's struggling. After dinner, Richard excused himself to talk to the owner. Devin went to the bathroom. That left Jennifer and Elijah alone at the table. The silence stretched. So, Elijah said finally, you're a nurse. Yeah, Jennifer said. It's chaotic, but I like it. That takes guts, Elijah said. Dealing with trauma every day. You would know about trauma, Jennifer said softly. Elijah's jaw tightened. My dad told you, just that you were injured, that you were MIA for months. Elijah nodded slowly. Yeah, it was rough. You okay? Jennifer asked. I mean, I know that's a stupid question, but are you getting help, therapy? Elijah looked surprised. Yeah, actually, twice a week at the VA, it helps, some days more than others. Good, Jennifer said. That's really good. They looked at each other. Can I ask you something? Elijah said, sure. Did you help my dad that night? Elijah asked. You didn't know him, you had your own struggles. Why give away your food? Jennifer thought about it. Because my mama taught me that we're all we've got, Jennifer said. All of us down here trying to survive. And if we don't look out for each other, who will? Your dad was hurting, I couldn't walk away from that. Elijah studied her for a long moment. Kind of amazing, you know that, he said quietly. Jennifer felt heat rise to her cheeks. I'm really not, I'm just trying to do what's right. That's what makes you amazing, Elijah said. Before Jennifer could respond, Richard and Devin returned. Ready to head out? Richard asked. Minjun drove Jennifer and Devin back to the Bronx. But before they got out, Richard handed Jennifer an envelope. What's this? She asked. An invitation, Richard said. Sunday dinner at my place every week. You and Devin, I'd like you to be part of our family if you're willing. Jennifer's eyes filled with tears. Mr. Chen, call me Richard, he said gently. Please. Richard, Jennifer said, testing the name. Thank you, we'd love to come. Good, Richard said, smiling. Elijah will be there too. Jennifer glanced at Elijah, who was watching her with those intense dark eyes. He nodded. I'd like that. That night after Devin went to bed, Jennifer sat by her window and looked out at the Bronx. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number, she answered. Hello? Jennifer, it's Elijah, the deep voice said. I hope it's okay that I called. My dad gave me your number. It's fine, Jennifer said, her heart suddenly racing. Is everything okay? Yeah, I wanted to thank you again. What you did for my dad. He told me the whole story tonight. How bad things were for him, how you didn't just give him food, you gave him dignity, you saw him. Anyone would have done the same, Jennifer said. No, Elijah said firmly. They wouldn't have. Most people walk past suffering every single day. You didn't. That says something about who you are. Jennifer didn't know what to say. Anyway, Elijah continued. I just wanted you to know that, and I'm looking forward to Sunday dinner. Me too, Jennifer said softly. Good night, Jennifer. Good night, Elijah. She hung up. And for the first time in 14 months, Jennifer went to bed with a smile on her face. 3 weeks later, Sunday dinners at Richard Chen's penthouse became a routine. Every week, a car would pick up Jennifer and Devin from the Bronx and bring them to the Upper West Side. Richard's penthouse was beautiful, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park, original artwork on the walls, a kitchen bigger than Jennifer's entire apartment. But Richard never made them feel uncomfortable. He'd cook with Jennifer. They'd make Korean-American fusion dishes, experimenting with recipes. Devin would do homework at the dining table while Richard helped him with math. Elijah would show up after his therapy appointments, still healing but getting stronger. Jennifer and Elijah started talking more. She learned that he'd lost 4 men in the attack that nearly killed him, that he'd been trapped under rubble for 6 hours before local villagers pulled him out, that he still had nightmares about the explosion. He learned that Jennifer had been working since she was 15, that she dropped out of high school to care for her dying mother, then got her GED later, that she put herself through nursing school with loans and sheer determination. They understood each other in a way that surprised them both. But Jennifer kept her distance emotionally, because she could see what was happening. Elijah was looking at her differently, smiling more when she was around, finding excuses to sit next to her at dinner, offering to drive her home instead of sending the car service. And she was terrified, because men like Elijah Chen, billionaire heirs, military heroes, beautiful and broken, they didn't actually fall for women like her, women from the Bronx who wore thrift store clothes and had more debt than dreams. This was temporary. A nice moment in time, but it wouldn't last. It couldn't. Then came the night everything shifted. It was a Sunday in late April. Dinner had been particularly nice. Richard had made his late wife's signature dish, galbi with homemade kimchi. They'd all eaten too much and laughed until their sides hurt. Devin had fallen asleep on the couch, exhausted from a week of school. Richard had excused himself to his study to take a business call that left Jennifer and Elijah alone on the balcony, looking out at the glittering lights of Manhattan. "It's beautiful up here," Jennifer said softly. "It is," Elijah agreed. But he wasn't looking at the view. He was looking at her. Jennifer felt his gaze and turned. Their eyes met. "Jennifer," Elijah said quietly. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Do you pull away every time I get close?" Jennifer's breath caught. "I don't." "You do," Elijah said gently. "Every time we start to have a real moment, you change the subject, or you make a joke, or you find a reason to leave the room." "Why?" Jennifer looked away, her hands gripping the balcony railing. "Because this isn't real," she said finally. "What isn't real?" "This," Jennifer gestured between them. "You and me, this whole thing. Your dad is amazing and I'm grateful for everything he's done. But I know how this works, Elijah. I'm the charity case, the feel-good story, the poor nurse your dad wants to help. And you're being nice to me because of that. But eventually you'll go back to your real life, and I'll go back to mine." Elijah was quiet for a long moment, then he stepped closer. "Is that really what you think?" he asked. "That you're a charity?" Jennifer's voice cracked. "No," Elijah said firmly. "You're the woman who saved my father's life. You're the woman who works doubles to give her brother a better future. You're the woman who gives away her last meal to a stranger. You're the woman who makes me laugh for the first time in 2 years. You're the woman I can't stop thinking about." Jennifer's eyes filled with tears. "Elijah, not being nice to you out of obligation, Jennifer," Elijah said, his voice raw. "I'm drawn to you because you're one of the realest people I've ever met. You don't care about my money. You don't care about my last name. You see me, the broken parts, the struggling parts, and you don't run." "You're not broken," Jennifer whispered. "Yes, I am," Elijah said. "I have nightmares, panic attacks. I can't go to crowded places without feeling like I'm going to lose it. I'm a mess, Jennifer." "You're healing," Jennifer corrected. "There's a difference." Elijah smiled sadly. "See, that's what I mean. You get it." He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. He cupped her face gently. "Like you, Jennifer Brooks," he said softly. "Not because my dad asked me to, not because you need help, but because when I'm with you I remember what it feels like to be human, to want something beyond just surviving." Jennifer's heart was pounding so hard she thought it might explode. "Scared," she admitted. "So am I," Elijah said. "I don't know how to do this," Jennifer said. I've been too busy surviving to date, to have a life." "Then we'll figure it out together," Elijah said. "No pressure, no expectations, just let me take you to dinner, a real date, just you and me. Let me show you that this is real." Jennifer looked into his eyes. She saw sincerity there, vulnerability, hope. "Okay," she whispered. Elijah's entire face lit up. Yeah, Jennifer said, a small smile breaking through. "One date, Elijah repeated. Then he grinned. "I'll make it count." The date was supposed to happen that Friday. Elijah had made reservations at a nice restaurant in Brooklyn. Nothing too fancy. He knew Jennifer would be uncomfortable with that. Just good food and good conversation. Jennifer had borrowed a dress from her friend Jade. She'd done her hair, put on the lipstick she saved for special occasions. She was nervous, excited. Terrified, Devin was staying with Mrs. Washington for the evening. The car was supposed to pick her up at 7. At 6:45, her phone rang. Richard's number. "Hello?" Jennifer answered. "Jennifer, it's Min Jun," the voice said. He sounded stressed. "There's been an incident. Elijah had a severe panic attack this afternoon. He's at the VA hospital right now. Richard is with him, but Elijah is asking for you." Jennifer's stomach dropped. "I'm on my way," she said immediately. "Send the car." Jennifer had never moved so fast in her life. She threw on jeans and a sweater, told Mrs. Washington she'd be back late, and ran downstairs. The drive to the VA hospital in Brooklyn felt like it took hours. When she finally arrived, Min Jun was waiting at the entrance. "This way," he said, leading her through the building. They found Richard sitting in a waiting area, his head in his hands. "Richard," Jennifer said softly. He looked up. Relief flooded his face. "Jennifer, thank God," he said, standing. "He's stable now, but he had a bad episode, flashbacks. They had to sedate him. He's been asking for you since he woke up." "I see him." Jennifer asked. "Room 314, down the hall." Jennifer walked quickly to the room. She knocked softly and pushed the door open. Elijah was sitting on the bed, dressed in a hospital gown. His hands were shaking. His eyes were red. When he saw Jennifer, something in his expression crumbled. "I'm sorry," he said immediately. "I'm so sorry. I ruined our date. I ruined everything." Jennifer crossed the room in 3 steps and took his hand. "Stop," she said firmly. "You didn't ruin anything." "I couldn't breathe," Elijah said, his voice breaking. "I was getting ready and I heard fireworks from somewhere outside, and it took me back to the explosion, to the screaming. I couldn't breathe, Jennifer. I thought I was dying." "You're not," Jennifer said, squeezing his hands. "You're here. You're safe." "I'm broken," Elijah whispered. "Not broken," Jennifer said fiercely. "You're hurting. You're healing. That's not the same thing." Elijah looked at her with such raw vulnerability it broke her heart. "I don't want you to see me like this," he said. "Why?" Jennifer asked. "Because I'm supposed to be strong. I'm supposed to have it together." "Says who?" Jennifer challenged. "Elijah, I work in an ER. I see people at their absolute worst every single day. And you know what I've learned? Strength isn't pretending you're fine. Strength is asking for help when you're not." Elijah's eyes filled with tears. "I really wanted tonight to be perfect," he said. "It can still be perfect," Jennifer said softly. "We're together, aren't we?" She kicked off her shoes and climbed onto the hospital bed next to him. Elijah looked at her in surprise. "What are you doing?" "Having our date," Jennifer said simply. She pulled out her phone. "What do you want to eat? I'll order delivery." "Jennifer, you don't have to." "I know I don't have to," Jennifer said. "I want to, now, pizza or Chinese." Elijah stared at her for a long moment. Then he started laughing. Real, genuine laughter. "Really something else, Jennifer Brooks," he said. "Been told," Jennifer said with a smile. "So, pizza or Chinese?" "Pizza," Elijah said. "Good choice." They ate pizza in that hospital room. They talked about everything and nothing. Elijah told her about his time in the military, the good parts, the parts he could talk about. Jennifer told him about nursing school, about the patients who stayed with her, about the moments that made the job worth it. At some point, Elijah's head ended up on Jennifer's shoulder. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For not running." "Not going anywhere," Jennifer said, and she meant it, but 3 weeks later everything fell apart. Elijah started trying to fix Jennifer's life. He paid off her nursing school loans without asking. He bought Devin a brand new laptop for school. He tried to give Jennifer money for a new apartment in a better neighborhood, and every time Jennifer felt smaller and smaller. It all came to a head on a Sunday evening at Richard's penthouse. Elijah pulled Jennifer aside after dinner. "Have something for you," he said, handing her an envelope. Jennifer opened it. Inside was a check for $25,000. "What is this?" Jennifer asked slowly. "No, you've been picking up extra shifts to save money," Elijah said. "I wanted to help so you don't have to work so hard." Something inside Jennifer snapped. "I didn't ask for this," she said, her voice tight. "I know, but—" "So why are you giving it to me?" Jennifer interrupted. "Did I ask you to pay off my loans? Did I ask you to buy Devin a computer? Did I ask you to solve all my problems?" Elijah looked confused. "I'm just trying to help," Jennifer said, her voice rising. "You're trying to fix me like I'm some broken thing that needs saving. That's not what I'm doing." "Yes, it is," Jennifer said. Tears were streaming down her face now. "You see me as a project, Elijah, the poor nurse from the Bronx. Let's throw money at her problems and make ourselves feel good." "Jennifer, that's not fair, isn't it?" Jennifer challenged. "Have you even once asked me what I actually need? Or do you just assume that because I'm broke I need you to rescue me?" Elijah's jaw tightened. I'm not trying to rescue you. Then what are you trying to do? Jennifer demanded. I'm trying to love you, Elijah shouted. The room went silent. Jennifer stared at him. What? She whispered. Falling in love with you, Jennifer, Elijah said, his voice raw. And I don't know how to show it except by trying to make your life easier. I know what it's like to struggle. I know what it's like to be in pain, and I just want to take some of that away from you. Jennifer's chest was heaving. That's not love, Elijah, she said quietly. That's guilt. That's your savior complex. That's you trying to fix me because you couldn't fix yourself. Elijah looked like she'd slapped him. You don't mean that, he said. I do, Jennifer said, even though it was killing her. Because if you really loved me, you'd respect me enough to ask what I need instead of assuming. You'd see me as your equal, not someone who needs saving. She shoved the check back into his hands. I survived before I met you, Jennifer said, her voice breaking. And I'll survive after you, she grabbed her coat. Jennifer, wait, Elijah started. Don't, Jennifer said. Just, don't. She walked out of the penthouse. Richard tried to stop her in the hallway, but she just shook her head. I'm sorry, she told him. I'm so sorry, but I can't do this. She took the elevator down 40 floors. She walked out into the cold New York night, and she didn't look back. 6 months passed. Jennifer didn't go back to Sunday dinners. She didn't answer Richard's calls. She didn't respond to Elijah's texts. She buried herself in work. Double shifts, triple shifts, anything to keep her mind off the man she'd walked away from. Devin asked about them constantly. Why don't we see Mr. Chen anymore? He'd ask. We needed some space, baby, Jennifer would say, but the truth was she missed them. She missed Richard's warm laugh. She missed cooking in his big kitchen. She missed the way Elijah looked at her like she was the most important person in the world, but she'd made her choice. She'd chosen her dignity over love, and some days she wasn't sure if that was the right choice at all. Then on a cold October evening, everything changed. Jennifer was at the hospital finishing up a shift when her phone rang. It was Mrs. Washington. Jennifer, baby, you need to come home right now, the elderly woman said, her voice panicked. What's wrong? Jennifer asked, her heart immediately racing. It's Devin. He fell playing basketball, hit his head real bad. The ambulance just took him to Mount Sinai. Jennifer's world stopped. I'm on my way, she said. She ran. She didn't even clock out. She just ran. She burst through the ER doors of Mount Sinai, her own workplace, and ran straight to the trauma bay. Devin Brooks, she shouted at the triage nurse. Where is he? Room 3, but Jennifer, you was already running. She pushed through the doors of Trauma 3 and froze, because standing next to Devin's bed, holding her brother's hand, was Elijah Chen. He was dressed in jeans and a sweater, his eyes red and worried. When he saw Jennifer, relief flooded his face. He's okay, Elijah said immediately. Mild concussion, no internal bleeding, he's okay. Jennifer rushed to Devin's side. Her brother's eyes were closed, but he was breathing steadily. What are you doing here? Jennifer asked Elijah, her voice shaking. Mrs. Washington called me, Elijah said. She still had my number from before. She didn't know who else to call. I came as fast as I could. I paid for the ambulance. I made sure he got the best doctors. I've been here the whole time. Jennifer's knees buckled. Elijah caught her before she fell, and then Jennifer broke. She sobbed into his chest, all the fear, all the exhaustion, all the loneliness of the past 6 months pouring out. I'm so tired, she cried. I'm so tired of doing this alone. I know, Elijah said, holding her tight. I know, but you're not alone anymore. I'm here. I'm right here. I'm sorry, Jennifer sobbed. I'm sorry for what I said. I'm sorry for pushing you away, Elijah said firmly. You were right. I was trying to fix you instead of listening to you. I was making it about me instead of about us. You were right to walk away, pulled back and looked into her eyes. Spent the last 6 months in therapy, Jennifer, he said, really working on myself, working on understanding why I try to control everything, why I use money instead of words, and I've learned so much. But the most important thing I learned is that I can't do any of this without you. Jennifer's breath hitched. I don't want to save you, Elijah continued. I don't want to fix you. I just want to stand beside you, as your partner, as your equal. And let you stand beside me too. I want that, Jennifer whispered. I want that so much. Then let's try again, Elijah said. No pressure, no grand gestures, just us, building something real together. Jennifer looked at this man, this beautiful, broken, healing man who saw her, really saw her. Okay, she said softly. Together, Elijah smiled, and then he kissed her. It was soft, gentle, perfect. Behind them, Devin groaned. Finally, he muttered, his eyes still closed. I thought I was gonna have to hit my head again to get you two back together. Jennifer and Elijah broke apart, both laughing through their tears. All right, everyone, hold up. I would like you to drop a comment and tell me, have you ever walked away from someone you loved because you were too scared to stay? I will be in the comments. Jennifer had forgotten what it felt like to wake up without dread in her chest. For so long, every morning had been the same: panic about bills, worry about Devin, exhaustion from barely sleeping. But this morning, 3 days after Devin's accident, she woke up to sunlight streaming through her Bronx apartment window and the smell of coffee. Coffee she didn't make. She sat up quickly. Elijah was in her tiny kitchen, carefully pouring coffee into 2 mismatched mugs. He was wearing the same jeans and sweater from the hospital, his hair slightly messy, his movements quiet so he wouldn't wake anyone. "You stayed," Jennifer said softly. Elijah turned, a gentle smile on his face. "You fell asleep on the couch around 3 a.m. I didn't want to leave you alone. I hope that's okay." Jennifer's heart did that familiar flip. "It's okay." He brought her the coffee, made exactly how she liked it, with a little sugar and a splash of milk. Somehow he'd remembered from all those Sunday dinners months ago. "Devin's still asleep," Elijah said, settling onto the couch beside her. "I checked on him 20 minutes ago. Breathing's good, color's good." "Thank you," Jennifer said, "for everything, for being there yesterday, for staying." "There's nowhere else I'd rather be," Elijah said simply. They sat in comfortable silence, drinking coffee as New York woke up outside the window. "So where do we go from here?" Jennifer asked quietly. Elijah set down his mug and turned to face her fully. "Honestly, I don't know," he admitted. "I just know I want to figure it out with you. No rushing, no assumptions, just talking, being honest about what we need." "I need you to stop trying to pay for everything," Jennifer said. It wasn't accusatory, just honest. "Okay," Elijah said. "And I need you to tell me when you're struggling instead of hiding it until you break." Jennifer's throat tightened. "That's hard for me." "I know," Elijah said. "It's hard for me to not try to fix things, so we'll both have to practice." "Practice," Jennifer repeated, a small smile forming. "I like that. It feels real." "It is real," Elijah said, reaching for her hand. "This time it's real." 2 weeks later, Devin was fully recovered and back at school. Jennifer had returned to her regular schedule at Mount Sinai, and slowly, carefully, she and Elijah started building something new. Their first official date, the real one, was nothing fancy. Elijah picked her up in his personal car, not the Mercedes with a driver, just his own truck, a Ford he'd bought himself before joining the military. "This is yours?" Jennifer asked, climbing into the passenger seat. "Bought it when I was 20 with my own money," Elijah said with a hint of pride. "My dad thought I was crazy buying a truck instead of driving one of his luxury cars, but I wanted something that was mine." Jennifer smiled. "I like it." They drove to Brooklyn to a small Caribbean restaurant that had been there for 30 years. "My mom used to bring me here," Elijah explained as they walked in. "When I was a kid, before she got sick. She said the jerk chicken reminded her of a place she visited in Korea that had fusion food." Owner, an elderly Jamaican woman named Miss Pearl, recognized Elijah immediately. "Little Elijah Chen," she exclaimed, pulling him into a tight hug. "Lord have mercy, I haven't seen you in years. Your mama would be so proud seeing you all grown up." "Hi, Miss Pearl," Elijah said warmly. "This is Jennifer." Miss Pearl turned to Jennifer with knowing eyes. "Oh, so you're the one? I can see it all over this boy's face. He's smitten." Jennifer laughed as Elijah's ears turned red. "Nice to meet you, Miss Pearl." They ate jerk chicken and rice and peas and plantains. They talked about everything: childhood memories, favorite books, embarrassing moments, dreams they'd given up on and dreams they still held. "I always wanted to open a clinic," Jennifer admitted. "In underserved neighborhoods, free healthcare for people who can't afford it, but nursing school loans buried that dream pretty fast." "It's not buried," Elijah said. "Just delayed." "Maybe," Jennifer said, but she didn't sound convinced. "I wanted to be a teacher," Elijah said. "Before the military, I loved working with kids, but my dad needed me to take over the business and I didn't want to disappoint him. So I chose the military as a compromise, my own path but still honorable enough that he'd accept it." "Do you regret it?" Jennifer asked. Elijah thought about it. "I regret the men I lost, I regret the trauma, but I don't regret serving. It taught me things about myself I needed to learn." "Like what?" "Like I'm stronger than I think, and more broken than I wanted to admit," Elijah said quietly. "And that's okay. Both can be true." Jennifer reached across the table and squeezed his hand. They understood each other in a way that felt sacred. 1 month later, Richard invited them both to Sunday dinner, not at the penthouse this time, but at his office. "I want to show you something," he said mysteriously. When Jennifer, Devin, and Elijah arrived at Chen Premier Automotive headquarters, Richard led them to a conference room on the third floor. Inside, there were architectural plans spread across the table. "What is this?" Jennifer asked. "This," Richard said, his eyes bright with excitement, "is the Sun Hee Chen Community Center." He pointed to the blueprints. "Free medical clinic, job training programs, after-school programs for kids, hot meal service, everything this city needs but doesn't have enough of." Jennifer's breath caught. "Been planning this since you fed me that bowl of ramen," Richard continued. "You reminded me that wealth means nothing if you don't use it to help people. My wife always believed that. I'd forgotten. But you reminded me." He turned to Jennifer. "And I want you to run the medical clinic," Richard said. "Not as an employee, as a partner. I'll fund the building and operations. You design the programs, you hire the staff, you make it what it needs to be." Jennifer felt tears streaming down her face. "Richard, I can't." "You can," Richard said firmly. "You're the most compassionate person I've ever met. If anyone can build something that truly serves this community, it's you." Jennifer looked at Elijah, who was smiling at her with so much pride it made her chest ache. "What do you think?" Elijah asked. "I think," Jennifer's voice broke, "I think this is everything I've ever dreamed of." "Then say yes," Richard said gently. Jennifer looked at the blueprints, at the dream she'd thought was impossible. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I'll do it." Devin whooped loudly and they all laughed. 6 months later, building the community center was hard. Jennifer kept her job at Mount Sinai while working nights and weekends on the clinic plans. She met with architects, medical suppliers, potential staff members. She wrote grants. She fought with city officials for permits. There were moments she wanted to quit, moments she wondered if she was in over her head, but Elijah was there not to fix it, not to take over, just to listen when she was frustrated, to bring her coffee when she was working late, to remind her why she'd said yes in the first place. Their relationship deepened slowly, like roots growing underground. They had their first real fight in December about boundaries with Richard. "He can't just buy you a new car without asking," Jennifer argued in Elijah's loft. "He's my father. He wants to give me things," Elijah countered. "But you don't need a new car. You love your truck. That's not the point." "Then what is the point, Elijah?" they yelled. They said things they regretted. Jennifer left angry, but 2 hours later, Elijah showed up at her apartment. "Right," he said simply. "I told him to return the car. The truck is mine and I'm keeping it." Jennifer stared at him. "You did?" "Yeah, because you were right. I do let him steamroll me sometimes. I'm working on it." They made up. Not because the problem was solved, but because they were willing to keep trying. 1 year after the hospital parking lot, the Sun Hee Chen Community Center opened on a cold November Saturday. The entire neighborhood showed up. Jennifer stood at the entrance of the medical clinic, wearing a white coat with her name embroidered on it. Jennifer Brooks, RN Clinical Director. Devin stood beside her in a suit Richard had bought him. And this time, Jennifer had let him because it was a gift, not a rescue. Elijah was there, his arm around Jennifer's shoulders. Richard cut the ribbon with tears streaming down his face. "My wife would have loved this," he said into the microphone. "She always believed that we're put on this earth to take care of each other. This center is her legacy, and Jennifer's, and everyone who believes that kindness matters." Crowd applauded, the doors opened. People flooded in, families needing medical care, teenagers looking for after-school programs, elderly folks wanting a hot meal and company. Jennifer worked until midnight that first day. When she finally locked up, Elijah was waiting outside with coffee. "You did it," he said. "We did it," Jennifer corrected. They stood there in the cold New York night, looking at the building that had been built on kindness. "Love you," Elijah said suddenly. Jennifer's heart stopped. He'd never said it before, not since that terrible fight a year ago. "In love with you, Jennifer Brooks," Elijah continued. "Not because you need me, not because I need to save you, but because you make me want to be better, because you see me, all of me, and you stay anyway. Because when I imagine my future, you're in every single moment of it." Jennifer's eyes filled with tears. "Love you too," she whispered. "So much it scares me." "Be scared," Elijah said, cupping her face. "We'll figure it out together. Remember, together," Jennifer repeated. He kissed her under the streetlights of the Bronx, and for the first time in her entire life, Jennifer felt completely, utterly home. 2 years later, Jennifer stood in Richard's penthouse, looking at herself in the full-length mirror. The wedding dress was simple, ivory, flowing, nothing too fancy. Exactly what she'd wanted. Jade, her best friend and maid of honor, was fixing her hair. "You look beautiful, Jen," Jade said. "Feel like I'm going to throw up," Jennifer admitted. "That's normal," Jade laughed. "You're marrying a billionaire, I'd be throwing up too." "I'm not marrying a billionaire," Jennifer said. "I'm marrying Elijah." There was a soft knock on the door. Richard poked his head in. "Can I come in?" "Of course," Jennifer said. Richard stepped inside, looking distinguished in his tuxedo. His eyes immediately filled with tears when he saw her. "Oh, Jennifer," he said, his voice thick. "You look just like Sun He did on our wedding day." Jennifer's own eyes welled up. "Don't make me cry. Jade just fixed my makeup." Richard crossed the room and took her hands. "I need to tell you something before we go downstairs," he said. "Okay," Jennifer said, suddenly nervous. "When you fed me that ramen in the hospital parking lot 2 years ago, I was going to end my life that night," Richard said quietly. "I had pills at home. I had a plan. I was done." Jennifer's breath caught. "But you and Devin showed me something I'd forgot," Richard continued. "That there are still good people in this world, that kindness still exists, that life is still worth living. You didn't just feed me, Jennifer. You saved me." Tears were streaming down Jennifer's face now. "And today I get to walk you down the aisle," Richard said, his own voice breaking. "I get to give you to my son. I get to watch two people I love more than anything build a life together. That's not something I ever thought I'd experience, but I'm here because of you." "Richard," Jennifer whispered. "I know your father isn't here to do this," Richard said, "but if you'll let me, I would be honored to stand in his place today." Jennifer couldn't speak. She just threw her arms around him and held on tight. "Already my family," she said into his shoulder. "You've been my family since the beginning." "You're mine," Richard said. The wedding was small, 50 people in Central Park under a canopy of autumn leaves. Devin, now 15 and almost as tall as Elijah, Richard walked Jennifer down the aisle. Minjun stood as Elijah's best man. Dr. Akafer from Mount Sinai was there, crying openly. Mrs. Washington sat in the front row with tissues. Jade stood beside Jennifer, beaming. And Elijah stood at the altar in a simple black suit, looking at Jennifer like she'd hung the moon. When she reached him, he took her hands. "Hi," he whispered. "Hi," she whispered back. The officiant began, but Jennifer barely heard the words. All she could focus on was Elijah's hands in hers, strong, steady home. When it came time for vows, Elijah went first. "Jennifer," he said, his voice carrying across the small gathering. "2 years ago, you saved my father's life, but you also saved mine. I was lost when I came home from war, broken, angry, drowning in guilt, but you saw past all of that. You saw me, the real me, and you didn't run." His voice cracked. "You taught me that love isn't about fixing someone. It's about standing beside them while they fix themselves. It's about being patient, being honest, being brave enough to be vulnerable. You are the bravest person I know, and I promise to spend the rest of my life standing beside you, not in front of you, not behind you, but right beside you. As your partner, your equal, your home." Jennifer was openly sobbing now. "Love you," Elijah said. "I love your strength. I love your compassion. I love the way you give even when you have nothing. I love the way you fight for what's right. I love everything about you, and I will love you until my last breath." Jennifer took a shaky breath and began her vows. "Elijah," she said, her voice trembling, "I spent most of my life believing I had to do everything alone. That asking for help meant I was weak. That accepting love meant I was less than, but you showed me that's not true. You showed me that partnership isn't about losing yourself. It's about becoming more of yourself because someone sees you fully and loves you anyway." She squeezed his hands. "You've seen me at my worst, scared, angry, pushing you away, and you stayed. You worked on yourself. You respected my boundaries. You proved that love is a choice we make every single day. And I choose you, today and every day after. I promise to be honest with you, to let you in even when it's scary. To stand beside you through the nightmares and the joy. To build a life that honors both of us." She smiled through her tears. "Love you, Elijah Chen, and I can't wait to see what we build together." There wasn't a dry eye in the entire gathering. The officiant pronounced them married. Elijah pulled Jennifer close and kissed her like she was oxygen. Everyone cheered. 3 years later, Jennifer sat in the office of the Sun He Chen Community Center, reviewing patient charts. The clinic had served over 15,000 patients in 3 years. They'd expanded twice, added a dental wing, started a mental health program specifically for veterans. Elijah's idea. Jennifer had left Mount Sinai a year ago to focus on the center full-time. It was the best decision she'd ever made. There was a knock on her office door. "Come in," Jennifer called. Devin poked his head in. He was 18 now, taller than Elijah, heading to Columbia University in the fall on a full scholarship. He volunteered at the center every weekend. "Hey, Jen, you have a visitor," Devin said. "Who? Just come see." Jennifer followed him to the lobby. Standing there was a young woman, maybe 19, holding a small child. She looked exhausted, scared, wearing clothes that had seen better days. "Can I help you?" Jennifer asked gently. "Are you Jennifer Chen?" the young woman asked. Jennifer nodded. She'd taken Elijah's last name, though she still went by Brooks professionally. "I heard this place helps people who can't afford doctors," the woman said, her voice shaking. "My daughter has been sick for a week. I don't have insurance. I don't have money. I didn't know where else to go." Jennifer's heart broke and swelled at the same time. "You came to the right place," Jennifer said softly. "Come with me. We'll take care of your daughter." Woman started crying. Thank you so much." Jennifer led her back to an exam room and called for one of their pediatric nurses. As she watched the nurse carefully examine the little girl, Jennifer thought about that night in the hospital parking lot, about the old man who'd given up, about the bowl of ramen that changed everything, about how one small act of kindness had rippled out into something bigger than she ever could have imagined. That evening, Jennifer came home to the brownstone she and Elijah had bought in Brooklyn, not too fancy, just right for them. Elijah was in the kitchen cooking dinner. "How was your day?" he asked, kissing her hello. "Good, busy. We had 40 patients today," Jennifer said, settling onto a bar stool. "How was yours?" "Productive. Minjun and I finalized the deal with the Seoul office, and I had therapy." Therapy was still part of Elijah's weekly routine. He'd probably be in therapy for the rest of his life, and he'd made peace with that. "It go?" Jennifer asked. "Good. We talked about Dad," Elijah said. "About how to set boundaries with him without feeling guilty." "That's good," Jennifer said. Richard was healthy and happy, but he still had a tendency to try to control things. It was an ongoing conversation. "Oh, and I have news," Elijah said, his eyes twinkling. "What?" "Dad is officially stepping down as CEO next month. He's handing the company to me and Minjun. We're going to co-run it." Jennifer's eyes widened. "Elijah, that's huge." "Yeah, and you know what the first thing I'm doing is?" "What?" "Converting 15% of company profits to fund community programs, medical centers like yours in other cities, job training, youth programs, everything." Jennifer felt tears spring to her eyes. Really, Elijah said. "You taught me that wealth is worthless if you don't use it to help people. I want to build a legacy that matters, like you're doing." Jennifer got up and wrapped her arms around him. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered. "Proud of us," Elijah corrected. They stood there in their kitchen, holding each other, grateful for the life they'd built. 5 years later, Richard Chen died peacefully in his sleep at the age of 71. It was sudden, a massive heart attack, no warning, no suffering. Jennifer got the call at 4 in the morning. Elijah was inconsolable. The funeral was huge, hundreds of people whose lives Richard had touched. Jennifer stood at the podium during the service, looking out at the sea of faces. "Most of you knew Richard Chen as a successful businessman," she began, her voice steady despite her grief. "A self-made millionaire, a philanthropist, a pillar of the community." She paused. "I knew him as the man who taught me that family isn't about blood. It's about choice. It's about showing up. It's about seeing someone when they're invisible and reminding them they matter." Her voice cracked. 7 years ago, I fed Richard a bowl of homemade ramen in a hospital parking lot. I was broke. He was broken. Neither of us knew that moment would change both our lives forever, but it did. Because Richard took that small act of kindness and multiplied it. He built community centers. He funded scholarships. He changed thousands of lives. She looked at Elijah, who was in the front row, tears streaming down his face. But more than that, he taught his son how to love, how to be vulnerable, how to be a partner. And he taught me that I deserved to be loved, that my struggles didn't define my worth, that I was enough exactly as I was. She smiled through her tears. "Richard Chen saved my life. But the truth is, we saved each other. That's what love does. It saves us. It changes us. It makes us better." And Richard's love for his wife, for his son, for me and my brother, for this entire community, that love will live on, in every person we help, in every kindness we show, in every life we touch. She wiped her eyes. "Rest in peace, Dad. You earned it." Church was silent except for quiet crying. After the service, Jennifer found Elijah standing alone by the casket. She slipped her hand into his. "He was so proud of you," Jennifer said softly. "I know," Elijah whispered. "I just wish I'd had more time." "Me too." They stood there together, saying goodbye to the man who'd brought them together. 1 year later, Jennifer stood in the newest Sun Hee-chen Community Center, this one in Harlem. It was the 5th location. They were planning 3 more across the country. Devin, now 23 and in medical school, was cutting the ribbon. "My sister taught me that one person can change the world," Devin said into the microphone. "She proved it, and now we're all proving it together. This center is for everyone who feels invisible, everyone who's struggling, everyone who just needs someone to see them. We see you, and we're here." Crowd applauded. Jennifer felt Elijah's hand on her lower back. "You did it," he said. "We did it," Jennifer corrected, like she always did. That night they sat on their rooftop in Brooklyn looking at the city lights. "Do you ever think about that night?" Elijah asked. "In the parking lot. All the time," Jennifer said. "Do you regret it?" "Any of it?" Jennifer thought about the question. She thought about the struggle, the fear, the fights, the heartbreak. She thought about Richard's death, about the grief that still sat heavy in her chest. She thought about the sacrifices, the hard conversations, the moments she wanted to give up. And then she thought about the love, the family, the purpose. The lives changed. "No," Jennifer said finally. "I don't regret any of it." "Even the hard parts?" Elijah asked. "Especially the hard parts," Jennifer said. "Because the hard parts made us who we are." Elijah pulled her close. "Love you, Jennifer Brooks-Chen," he said. "Love you too," Jennifer said. They sat there under the New York sky, 2 people who'd found each other in the most unlikely way, 2 people who'd been broken and had healed together. 2 people who'd learned that love wasn't about grand gestures or fairy tale endings. It was about showing up, being honest, doing the work. It was about choosing each other every single day. 10 years after the hospital parking lot, Jennifer received an award from the mayor of New York for community service. The Sun Hee-chen Community Centers had served over 200,000 people across 8 cities. Devin was now Dr. Devin Brooks, working as a pediatrician at one of their centers. Elijah had transformed Chen Premier Automotive into one of the most socially responsible companies in the country. And Jennifer still made ramen every Sunday, not fancy ramen. Just the simple kind her mother had taught her to make. She'd make huge batches and bring them to the community centers, serving them to anyone who walked through the doors. Because she never forgot where she came from. She never forgot what it felt like to be hungry, scared, invisible. And she never forgot that one bowl of soup had saved 2 lives and changed everything. 15 years after the hospital parking lot, Jennifer Brooks-Chen sat in a hospital bed, holding Elijah's hand. She was 52 years old. The breast cancer had come back for the 3rd time. This time, the doctors said there was nothing more they could do. Elijah had taken a leave of absence from work. He barely left her side. Devin visited every day, bringing his own daughter, Jennifer's goddaughter, to brighten the room. On a quiet Tuesday evening as the sun set over New York, Jennifer looked at her husband. "Not scared," she said. "I am," Elijah admitted, his voice breaking. "Don't be," Jennifer said gently. "I've had a beautiful life, so much more than I ever dreamed possible. I got to help people. I got to build something that matters. I got to love and be loved. That's more than most people get." "It's not enough time," Elijah said, tears streaming down his face. "It never is," Jennifer said. "It's what we got, and I'm grateful for every single moment." She squeezed his hand. "Promise me something," she said. "Anything. Promise me you'll keep going, keep building, keep helping people. Don't let grief stop you like it almost stopped your father." "I promise," Elijah whispered. "Promise me you'll find love again. When you're ready, don't be alone." "Jennifer, promise me," Elijah. "I promise," he said, even though the thought of loving anyone else felt impossible. Jennifer smiled. "Love you," she said. "Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for choosing me every day. Thank you for building this beautiful life with me. Thank you for feeding a broken old man in a parking lot," Elijah said, his voice cracking. "Thank you for saving my father. Thank you for saving me." Jennifer closed her eyes, still holding his hand. "It was just ramen," she whispered. And then, peacefully surrounded by love, Jennifer Brooks-Chen took her last breath, 5 years later. Elijah Chen stood at the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the 15th Sun Hee-chen Community Center. This one was in the Bronx, right across the street from the apartment building where Jennifer had lived all those years ago. Dr. Devin Brooks stood beside him, now the medical director of all 15 centers. "Your sister would be proud," Elijah said. "Say we're just getting started," Devin replied with a smile. The ribbon was cut. The doors opened. And on the wall inside there was a plaque, the Jennifer Brooks-Chen Memorial Clinic. It was just ramen. In memory of a woman who proved that the smallest acts of kindness can change the world. Elijah stood there, reading those words, feeling Jennifer's presence like she was standing right beside him. He'd kept his promises. He'd kept building, kept helping, kept honoring her legacy. And yes, eventually he'd found love again. A kind hospice nurse named Grace who understood grief and didn't try to replace what he'd lost. But Jennifer would always be his first love, his greatest love. The woman who taught him that love wasn't about saving someone. It was about being brave enough to be saved yourself. And that, friends, is where our story ends, not with a perfect fairy tale, but with something more real, a story about kindness that ripples out into the world. About broken people who heal together, about love that transforms lives, about legacy that outlives us all. Jennifer Brooks was just a broke nurse who shared her last meal with a stranger. But that one choice, that one moment of compassion, changed thousands of lives. It saved a grieving father. It built a family from strangers. It created community centers that still serve people today. It proved that you don't need to be rich or powerful to change the world. You just need to see people when they're invisible. You just need to share what you have, even when you don't have much. You just need to choose kindness. Because sometimes kindness is all it takes, the lesson to take along with you from this story. True wealth isn't measured in money. It's measured in the lives you touch, the people you help, the love you give and receive, the legacy you leave behind. One bowl of ramen changed everything. What will your bowl of ramen be? Thank you for staying with me through this story. If this touched your heart, honor it by doing one kind thing for a stranger this week. You never know whose life you might change. Share this story with someone who needs to remember that kindness matters. And subscribe so you don't miss the next story. I'll see you soon.